Breaking news from the Middle East. Israel has launched what it's calling a preemptive strike against Iran. We understand this is a joint U.S. and Israeli strike, which hit in Iran's capital of Tehran, near the offices of Iran's supreme leader, where we could see a cloud of smoke rising from the area. The Israeli Defense Ministry said in a statement that it launched the attack to remove threats from Iran to the state of Israel. It said it was expecting a missile and drone attack from Iran in, quote, the immediate future. The Defense Ministry has also declared an immediate state of emergency in all areas of the country. This Israeli strike comes on the heels of a massive U.S. military buildup in the area. The U.S. has been assembling a vast fleet of fighter jets and warships in the region in an attempt to pressure Iran into a deal to dismantle its nuclear program. Joining us now, we have Charlie D'Agata, who's in Israel, to tell us exactly what we know. Charlie?
Yeah, good morning, Claire. So at about 8:20 this morning, we awoke, or most of us were awake anyway, to air raid sirens, which would suggest that we had incoming fire here, but it wasn't that. It was actually the Israeli Defense Forces alerting the people of Israel that an attack was underway in Tehran. So about 8:20 here, about 10:50 in Tehran. We then learned of explosions from our folks on the ground in Tehran, as you said, at the headquarters of the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. We understand from Iranian sources anyway that he was already moved to a safer area. In fact, he hasn't been seen in public for a number of days, and there are rumors he may have already gone deep underground. We then started chasing it up. We learned that it was a joint U.S. and Israeli attack, and there are explosions heard in 4 other cities inside Iran. Iran has now said that they intend to attack with crushing blows. As I said, we've only had one air raid siren so far. There's no reports of any incoming yet. The Israelis, as you mentioned in the beginning of this, is describing this as a preemptive strike. You know, we have to lay the groundwork here. Israeli defense officials that we spoke to and intelligence officials say that Iran has fully capable ballistic missiles, 1,800 of them at least, many of them within reach of this country, also within reach of U.S. forces in the area. You talked about that massive buildup that we've got here. The USS Gerald R. Ford should be off the coast of Israel soon. That's the aircraft carrier, the second one there. The USS Abraham Lincoln already in place. What we don't know yet is the scale of this first attack, as the Israelis are calling it a preemptive strike. And, you know, as explained by officials here, the Iranians will want to get their missiles off the ground as soon as possible. If the Israelis are going to want to essentially wipe out any of their missile defense systems, and this is all taking place in the background of talks between the United States and Tehran about limiting its nuclear program. But as an auxiliary, as far as the Israelis are concerned, with good reason, they want to diminish or completely reduce Iran's ability to attack them with these middle to long-range ballistic missiles. And again, that puts U.S. forces at risk, too. Al Udeid, which is the largest airbase in this region for the United States, came under attack, if you remember, last June. They were sort of pre-warned, but they still had to launch a huge counterattack in order for those missiles to not get through. That was in Qatar. Again, these Iranians still have plenty of that firepower there, and they've been reconstituting it by some measures, about 100 of those missiles a month, which is one of the reasons that's the urgency for the Israelis. So I think what we're waiting for now, first of all, to see if Iran is going to launch a counterattack, whether this preemptive strike was perhaps messaging. Because, again, we are in the middle of talks. The United States and Tehran are in the middle of talks. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is actually scheduled to come here on Monday. That doesn't necessarily mean that is putting that on hold. The last time President Trump threatened Iran, he gave Iran a 2-week window to comply to demands and then bombed 3 days later. So we actually have seen this in the precedents last year. You remember Operation Midnight Hammer, where B-2 bombers, stealth bombers, targeted Iran's nuclear facilities. We might see a return to that. But as you said, we're seeing the largest buildup of firepower in this region, and that says a lot since the invasion of Iraq in 2003.